Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Oh, I need my lights. What am I
We
thinking? What am I
we took
thinking?
we took a brief hiatus because I was camping.
We.
I neglected to tell Kaylin until several days before camping. I thought it would work out the week before that we'd be able to do this, but what we're going to do instead is send out two episodes, and one episode will be today on Friday, and then our next episode will be on Monday. Of course, here we go with the episode du jour. As I've been calling all day today, The Jaw. I'm gonna pop Jaws there. I think I remember how to do a pinned post.
It looks kind of pinned. Or did you just write that as a message?
I just wrote it. I just wrote it. Kaylin, why don't you get this party started while I try to remember how to do this.
I will soiree the party. Or no, I think soiree is a party.
Soiree is a party.
I will
Is Jaws a female? Two? I think three people were here at one point.
I mean, they came on quickly, though. I'm excited. It's a party.
It's a party up in here with Steve's here. And I'm me, you do. Hello, welcome.
Ahmed.
Oh, I read that completely wrong. My apologies, Ahmed.
That's my man. That's my bud.
I can't figure out how to do this.
I think it's that thing right there that you're looking at.
What?
In the middle. Oh, maybe the three dots. What about three dots?
No, it's just my dirty living room. Oh, I figured it out.
Thanks.
I figured it out. I figured it out. This is how you pin.
Is there a shark? Is there a shark skin or whatever it's called?
I highly doubt it. We should probably get to the point. Steve, my man, Steve, you guys met at my wedding, I think.
What's
up? Okay. Well, people will just have to follow context clues. Just figure out what we're talking about. But we are, of course, this week on the Summer Movie Series, talking about Jaws from 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by somebody, composed by John Waters.
Hey, look, I'm the Jaw.
He's the Jaw from Jaws. He's the Jaw. He's the Jaw from Jaws. So I took this movie. I've only seen the iconic bits. I've only seen like the ending. Basically,
prior to this viewing.
I've never seen the like build up, the first hour basically until the shark shows up. And
I was gonna mention, what'd you call it again? The get to the Home Alone. What'd you call the thing?
It's the Home Alone sequence, or the Home Alone part, basically.
Get to the sticky factor. Get to the
fucking chocolate factory, Willy Wonka, Charlie, whatever
like
the fuck.
An hour and 20 minutes roughly before it actually gets to it.
My problem with that is, right off the top, I'll say I gave this movie a 4. It's a solid 4. But the thing about it is that build-up is a lot of just like bibbity bibbity bobbity boobity boo, and it's like it's got its own 3 acts of like its own 3-act movie in that first hour, where it's just the conflict with the fucking corporate guy, which I don't want to get into it too much because this isn't a political podcast. This isn't a COVID podcast.
Very political.
But the whole businessman wanting to keep the park and keep the beaches open is very similar to what we're going through with COVID right now.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the mayor of the city? What is he the mayor? When I was writing my notes, I called him the corporation guy. Charles and the Chocolate Factor. Jonathan Jaws.
Charles. It's so sophisticated.
Charles and the Chocolate Factor. I like the factor part. So that being said, let's talk about this movie, Kaylin.
I was actually going to ask you when did you first see it? Because but you've already answered it, saying you never really saw it in full. I never because this movie was before my time as well, so I never really saw it either. So this was kind of my first time watching it as a whole.
Like sitting down and watching. Yeah.
It's a little older. It's a solid movie. It's a little drawn out. Not that it's drawn out in a bad way at the beginning, but it is, an hour and 20 minutes before you actually get to the meat and potatoes.
Basically, this movie starts out with, it's a very family. This family's moved from New York. Brody is the police chief. He's got some constituents. He's got the mayor to answer to. And the big crux of the first couple acts, the first act and a half or so, is that there's been a murder, and the mayor wants to sweep it under the.
When an animal kills a person, is that murder?
But we don't know the town doesn't. Amityville doesn't know it's a murder until way later when they catch the first shark.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the way it's framed at the very beginning is obviously you've seen it's 1975. You've seen the trailer for this movie. You know it's going to be a shark movie, but if they frame it like a killer,
a slasher,
a slasher. But then we know it's a shark as the audience, obviously. But the town, they just hear that somebody's been mangled. So the mayor, who wants to open the beaches for July 4th. America Day. This ties into Born on the 4th of July, which is Chef's Kiss. I don't know how we did this, but the Summer of Summer movie series.
We planned it.
We did it. I'm excited for next week to see, because I think there's a 4th of July bit in that too.
There is. I'm super excited about next week, but we'll get to that next week.
We'll get to that. This is a quintessential summer movie because it was like the first summer blockbuster, but I digress. So, essentially, they want to keep the people on the beach for July the 4th because they make their money for Amityville somehow, which is never really clear. Just the mayor's get the people on the beaches will be good for the winter. Amityville, I believe, is supposed to be an analog for Maine.
Sure.
Because he's at the beginning, he's like Amityville, you're from New York, you don't have the accent. It's supposed to be, you drive the car to the bar.
Yeah. When they said that reminded me of when, so I moved out to BC, shortly after high school, and they all made fun of me because, I guess, we elongate our R's.
Yeah.
It's got a roll.
Steve, you're absolutely correct. It is a touristy town. It is touristy town USA, just a complete analog for it. But I think because of the East Coast, it's got to be because of it's like in Boston accent almost. But yeah, you're right, Kaylin. I've lived in Toronto now for 9 years, going 9 years, and I still have people. Well, I'll be talking just like I'm talking, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bar later, and they're like,
"Oh, where are you from?"
Where are you from? I'm like, hey, Halifax, and they're like, "Oh, I was gonna say Newfoundland." I was like, "Fuck you." What's up?
Hey,
what's up, Ontario? We're talking about Jaws.
Love to our Islanders. Yes, buys.
Yes, buys. See, we have our own. We make fun of Cape Bretoners, and we make fun of Newfoundlanders, and we make fun of PEI people on the East Coast.
We don't make fun of anyone. It's all love.
I know it's all love, but when we do the hey bye a bit of the for the newfies. At least I used to. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my problem. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, the fucking East Coast accent is very prevalent. And in this movie, nobody really has it. I noticed, even though they make a point of talking about it. except for Quint, who has a dialect that
He's got something. Yeah.
I can only describe as Seafaring boatman.
Yep.
He kind of talks like, then we went out to sea, and then we found the shark. And he talks constantly.
Yeah.
He talks.
No, that's exactly. I've met like fishermen, sailors, or whatever that are like that.
That just won't just say crazy nonsense. There's one point where he's just boiling a shark's jaw, and he takes it out of the thing, he looks at it, and he throws it back in and just like keeps on his way and keeps talking to. I think at that point, Brody is at the place, at his weird like fishing shack on the pier.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I fucking love Richard Dreyfuss in this.
Dreyfuss?
Yeah, I don't know why, but he was a pleasure.
Kaylin, Richard Dreyfuss?
Dreyfuss?
Dreyfuss.
My bad.
I've never heard it pronounced like that. That's why I'm sorry. I don't mean to make fun.
Go ahead.
Dreyfuss. I'm calling him Richard Dreyfuss. I'm calling him Richard Dreyfuss from now on. It's the only way. My friend Jake makes fun of me for the way I pronounce him. I say him, and he always points that out. I got that from the professional wrestling announcer Tony Schiavone in the 1990s.
Use it in a sentence.
Oh, he really got him. Okay, he got him. Okay. Got him.
Yeah.
Him, like emphasis on him.
One thing I do find about, like, I can't speak for everyone here, but like it is definitely something I notice in my like dialect or twang or whatever accent, whatever, is it's kind of like lazy talk, like words kind of string together as one, like just one big word kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that fucking people that are from the GTA and people that are especially from like Scarborough or Barrie or Peterborough or any of the like small towns outside of the GTA or within the GTA, they all have their own weird dialect too.
For sure.
I picked up the man's over here. It's kind of like that kind of.
Do you use it?
I can't even do a impression of it because it's so specific.
Yeah.
I have a hard time
Man's
now.
Over here. Check out.
Yeah,
Man's
like
over here.
get your mans. I don't know. I can't do it. An Ontarian might be able to do it a little bit better. I think Steve probably knows what I'm talking.
Yo,
Steve knows what I'm talking about.
Invite him in for a quick sec, just for the accent.
Steve, you wanna come in and do a GTA accent? We can invite you to this live right quick. You can talk about Jaws. Okay, he's gonna do it. Let's get him in here. Let's get him. This is our first guest.
Oh, your buddy Justin, or did you see that he won? He won the Guess the Movie.
Oh, that's my cousin. I didn't see who the name was. Go live. Hey,
I'm a guest. I have appeared as a guest.
Welcome to. Hey, did you see this one? We have to ask you.
I'm drinking wine.
We're drinking beer. Every guest on this show has to be asked.
What you're looking for is like, okay, bud. What do you have a problem with me, bud?
Yeah.
See, pal.
Yeah, that's.
No, I'm not your friend, buddy. Sit down, pal.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But you gotta incorporate. You gotta incorporate like mans. You gotta be like the man's over here is right.
Get
good.
It sounds like you're doing like a.
I know
like a modernized Cockney accent.
It's kind of racist. I think. I don't know how.
British people.
It might not be the best look. Right. Steve, since you're our first guest, I gotta ask you. Hey, did you see this one? And of course, we're talking about Jaws. What are your thoughts?
I have seen Jaws and I actually watched it recently, so I was pleased to see that you guys were talking about it. And
how did you watch it? Do you own it? Did you stream it? Did you?
I own it, but I didn't watch it on my owned copy. It's on some streaming service. I think it was maybe Prime.
Yeah, I watched it on Prime.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of like really old shitty horror lately, and it's the best. Even though this is not old shitty horror, but it did kind of get recommended, and I was.
It is kind of like a slasher film, though. It does kind of follow some of the same beats of like a horror movie. You know, like the evil spirit coming after you kind of thing or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I did like that what you said at the beginning, Jason, where it's like they think it's a murder. And I never, like, I always, because it's, even since I watched this really, really young, and ever since I was a kid, it's, like, burned into my mind, like, that scene where it comes out of the water onto, like, the kid on the raft.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I remember watching that, and like, in my mind, I built it up so huge until I was, like, 20 or something, and thinking the shark was, like, the entire horizon in my mind. I was like, I can't ever go in the ocean.
I did that with a lot of horror movies, specifically this one too, because all I had in my head, I didn't know that the first half of the movie was its own like small movie. Like I thought they're like, oh shit, there's a shark that's killing everybody. Let's go fuck it up. But really, they go and they have like a final, like an RPG final battle with this fucking shark for like 40 minutes. And it's incredible. But the scenes I remember are the ones they always show, where he's looking in the water, and the shark shows its face for like a second, and he goes like this, and they always show it in like montages of like at the Oscars and stuff of like famous moments. But he walks inside the boat and says, "You need a bigger boat," and that's it's a real Luke, I'm your father moment, because people are always like, also improv, yes, but people are always like, we're gonna need a bigger boat, and that's what they say. But he says, you're gonna need a bigger boat, and then he says it again later. He's like, are we gonna get a bigger boat? You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Get the bigger boat, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of small bits in the movie that stick out of my mind the most. It's the one that I described of the shark coming up over the sort of the water break, and then there's like the leg falling, which is like, oh.
Yo, does a leg not float? Would a leg sink like that?
I don't know, but
that was one thing I asked myself when I saw that part. Also, why didn't he eat the leg? He bit the leg off. Why didn't he eat it?
Listen,
because he wanted those sweet.
This shark is a serial killer. Fun.
He wanted the sweet breadbasket meats that are in your torso, because when they do an autopsy on the girl from the beginning, Richard Dreyfuss is like, whoa, there's no internal organs in this person. This was not. This was a bigger shark than you're anticipating. And I knew when I didn't even know about the part that they caught a shark and everybody's gung-ho. And it's great because when they're going to catch that shark, it's a bunch of bumbling fishermen with regular sized fishing poles.
Chum everywhere.
Yeah, just chumming up the waters, and they catch a shark. Like it took 15 guys to catch one regular shark.
Well, they want that $2,000 reward.
Right? Exactly. Split 4 ways. What's 2,000 divided by 4?
Yeah. Listen, we got $500 each. Let's go gamble it on some weird gambling thing that we do in our
the Amityville Casino, which should be its own horror movie.
Buy all the fixings for some hooch.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part in that whole movie is when Richard Dreyfuss is doing the autopsy, and Quint is about, or not Quint. What's the
Brody.
Brody.
Yeah, Brody. He's about to light a cigarette, and he's just like, "Do not smoke in here." It's the best part in the whole movie. He doesn't
his
even look
delivery.
At him.
His like,
do not smoke in here.
Yeah, it was awesome. As Hooper, right?
Cooper. Yeah. They're all classically trained actors. They're putting in work. It's weird because, it's 40 years later, 45 years later, and the summer blockbuster is like Fast and Furious or movies starring The Rock that are like poorly acted, and like it's just a bunch of explosions and nonsense. But this is a Steven Spielberg movie. This is like the first of its kind, and they're coming in with like real acting. They're coming in with like a real full 2-hour like thick story based off a book. You don't see books as summer blockbusters unless they're comic books.
Have you guys read the book?
No.
I haven't read the book.
It's like a novella. It's like this thin. Like, it's a very small book, but I read it when I used to work a night shift, and I got invited to a cottage, and like for some reason the person at the cottage had like all the works of this one writer, and they were all these tiny novellas, and I was like, and like everyone's asleep. I'm like, I can't sleep. I work a night shift. I'm gonna be awake till the sun rises, and I'm like, Jaws. And I just read the whole Jaws book. because it was short. And let me tell you, the movie's better. Way better.
Is it?
That's rare. I mean, usually it's the other way around, but
There were
I
some
can see
other
that.
working titles I heard. There was The Stillness in the Water,
Okay.
Silence of the Deep, Leviathan Rising. I don't know what that word is.
Leviathan.
Yeah, there you
Leviathan.
go.
You guys are inside
And
my
Jaws
fridge
of
now.
Death. Oh yeah, I'll cheers to that.
This is a podcast first. We're inside a man's fridge.
You got inside my fridge for a second. Not a lot of people can say that.
Nice.
Oh. So,
This is going to be our highest rated episode ever because of Steve's fridge.
we should do a whole episode from inside the fridge.
Thanks.
We should all go.
Rename the podcast from inside the fridge.
Hey, did
I
you
like
see
it.
that fridge?
Or maybe anytime I guests appear, I'll just be from inside the fridge. It'll be from inside the fridge. It'll be me looking for stuff to eat. Or drink.
Or drink.
I will cheers to that. I have to say the movie title was not said. So far, I think our track record is 1 in 10 or something.
Where they say the name of the movie in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think J-Lo was like, and that's why we call it The Cell. So that definitely wasn't one.
Yeah.
I don't think they said Wet Hot American Summer. They probably
They didn't
said
say
4th
Kiss
of
Kiss
July.
Bang
No.
Bang. I don't think they said Christmas Carol or whatever.
Well,
Is
they
that
would
really
have.
a Muppet Christmas
Carol.
Oh, right. In Scrooge, though, they would have said Christmas Carol because they were doing the Christmas Carol. But they didn't
it's
say
not called-
Scrooged.
It's called Scrooge, though.
Yes.
Wait, are we trying to list all the movies that don't say the title of the movie?
No.
Just for the reviews so one of the things, one of the categories is at what time in the movie is the movie title said?
All right.
And so far, the majority of the ones we've done have not said it at all.
Okay, yeah. I think that like the closest thing in Jaws to them saying Jaws is the bite radius of the shark is at least this big, and it's
You're fucking killing it, man. That's exactly fucking sounds just like him. That's awesome.
That's great. The one thing that I thought was great in this movie was the amount of foreshadowing they do throughout it. There's a part where they're like, this dynamite would be good against the shark. And that, of course, is foreshadowing the way they kill the shark. But then there's like, Richard Dreyfuss tells that story. He shows up to Brody's house for dinner, just randomly.
Oh,
and he starts eating.
The shots in that, the cinematography in that scene, amazing. I don't know if you appreciated it, but like
I
they
did.
have like 8 angles that they just keep going back and forth from during that conversation.
We'll get to this. The overall cinematography in the whole movie is fantastic, but Cooper's telling the story about like he fell in love with sharks because he as a kid was out, on a small boat and he watched a shark. He knocked out of his boat. He watched the shark like eat the whole boat, and I was like, I know that's what happens at the end of this movie, but knowing that's what happens at the end was like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna look out for all the foreshadowing, and boy howdy, do they foreshadow a lot of the whole final battle. There's mentions of moments in it throughout the whole movie, and like I said, like it's a full battle against 3 men on a boat versus a shark, an animatronic shark. I read some fact that
Barely worked.
he called it
about this movie. So if you want to hit me, I can tell you if it's true or false.
Well, he called. I have the IMDb X-ray trivia thing pulled up, and I was actually watching it on my.
Than me.
Well, on my TV, it was showing it to me as I was watching the movie. Like when you hit pause and it shows the facts for each scene, and at one point it was like. Spielberg had a name for the animatronic shark that was the
Bruce.
No,
they called him Bruce.
Oh yeah, it's right here.
Lawyer.
But also the Great White Turd was another name that he had for it.
I didn't find that one.
Wait, the word turd was invented in 1976? Wow.
Yep.
Surprising.
The Great White Turd.
Shocking, even.
Shocking.
That's my foreshadowing to Jaws 3 when the Jaws shark gets electrocuted.
Is that how he goes down in Jaws 3?
I don't know. That might be
How many Jaws
ride.
are there?
I remember in the ride he gets electrocuted.
Well, there's Jaws 1, The Revenge, 3D, and then I don't know if they kept making them after that. I don't know if they kept making
I
like
think there's a
official,
fourth one. Isn't there a fourth one?
like Son of Jaws.
Yeah, Son of Jaws. That's where he learns to walk on land.
Okay, can I pause for 2 seconds? I just have to show you guys. I'm not sure how much of nerds you guys are, but I went to Walmart to get a Frisbee, and they had this dope-ass Dinobot figure.
Whoa, is that Raptor or whatever his name was?
Dinobot.
Dinobot.
But was Raptor the one called Dinobot?
He was
from
a
Beast
raptor.
Wars?
He was a raptor.
His name was Dinobot? I remember Rat Trap. And I remember...
Rat Trap was dope. Rat Trap was there too, but I already had him, so I didn't bother.
I remember him wisecracking a lot. I remember him
Rat
doing...
Trap? Rat Trap was like from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Raptor.
Like, wait a minute, I'm getting wrapped up into this whole thing.
I'm from the past, and I'm in the future.
A rat or a car, and I don't know which one I am.
I'm stuck in between. I'm a middle morph. A middle morphin.
Somebody get me out of this crazy world. I haven't thought about Beast Ease, as it was called here, Beast Wars.
Yeah, because it was
in the United States.
Yeah.
In many years, but I do remember loving it. But
Code of Hero.
Also, if you guys ever want to do like this type of show on every episode of Reboot, I am your man.
I would. So much. It's my favorite. Let's have a talk. Let's have a talk off camera about that, because I would absolutely do a Reboot podcast.
Okay.
I would do a Beast Wars podcast, because I only remember watching it from like when it was on after or before Reboot, and I never went back.
Podcast called Reboot the Reboot Reboot. Reboot the Reboot, and make it better again.
Because they did do that live action hybrid CGI reboot from like 2016. Yeah,
that's very good.
Also, did you watch it?
As somebody barfed into a camera, and then they just were like, "Let's print it. We're good. Let's go.
We're good. Don't even bother editing it. This is it."
Yeah, I don't want to detract from your Jaws Canadian. It was like made in what, BC? I think Vancouver.
What, a Reboot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Canadian for sure.
Oh, Reboot is Canadian, yes. It's Montreal, I think.
Was it Montreal?
Yeah, there was like a big animation studio in Montreal in like the 90s. They also did the Beast Wars and shit.
They did Beast Boys.
They did the Beastie Boys album, the biggest one of the year.
That's what the album was called, coincidentally.
It's called the biggest one of the year.
Alrighty.
So, back on track.
Back on track to the jaw, man.
He scratches a blackboard.
Yeah, that was weird. So there was some really weird, like...
That's because they're not paying attention. How else are you going to get them to pay attention?
That's true, but I was listening to it, I was watching it on headphones. So I noticed a lot of the weird ADR, a lot of the weird, like, sound design, a lot of the really good sound design, and that was like I hated it, but it was so good and realistic sounding.
It's effective in the movie, but in real life, no. You would just be like agonizing your own self, dragging your fingernails across a chalkboard, and all those people yelling over each other, no one would hear it. You'd just be like, oh God, why am I doing this?
No, and that
wine glass, ding, 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 ding.
That whole scene reminded me of the videos that you see of people at like student council yelling at teachers and like about putting masks on their kids for COVID. That's what that whole scene reminded me of, because all of those people in that room were like, "We want the beaches open for July 4th."
Yeah, I think there's actually a woman who yells like, they're like, "We're only going to be shut down by 24 hours," and then some lady's like, 24 hours? That's like a whole fucking millennium.
She says that's like 3 weeks. Yeah.
They should have said that's like a whole day.
Yeah. She was acting like her entire like child's college fund was dependent on one day of having the beach open.
Well, it's the whole thing that like clearly this town, as soon as the fall hits, they just shut down. So I guess it goes to at that point, like it's not about selling like ice cream or fish and chips for a day or two. It's the fact that if they close the beach, nobody's going to come into town. And later in the movie, this is the weirdest thing that I noticed, is everybody goes to the beach, but because there's a shark warning, nobody goes in the water. And the mayor actively goes up to a guy and he's like, "Hey, why don't you go in the water?" And the guy's like, "Well,
this is the part that I don't understand. Where I'm like,
I put on some.
They're buying your ice cream and shit.
Yeah.
It's not like you're paying admission to go into the water. Like, who cares if they're not in the water or not, man?
And the guy's like, clearly like, "Well, I don't know. I just put on my sunscreen. I'm just letting it soak." He's like, "No, look,
I just put on
why don't you just go in the water?
Oil, and I just want to baste a bit here." And he's like, "Just get in the goddamn water.
Just go in the goddamn water." And that family goes in the water, and then
everybody goes in the water.
Everybody starts going in the water. But then there's a kid who and his buddy who are doing a prank, and then then Jaws shows up. Yeah.
Now that is a prank. You know how these days people just blow air horns in people's ears, or like go up and say the N-word to somebody, and they're like, "It's a prank, bro."
That's just a prank, bro.
No, that's not a prank. That is a prank. It's a true prank.
That is like an old school cartoon prank because they literally have like the board with the fin on it. That's like on.
I'm pretty sure the cartoons base their pranks off of that. I think
it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those two kids, the one kid's like, "He made me do it."
They're clearly freezing, like not even written into the movie, like this pool that they're in, like they're freezing.
That's like water, like just south of Nova Scotia. Like you can see like an iceberg in the background. They're like filming in like late September.
Well, Kaylin, do we know where they actually filmed? Do you know where they filmed this movie?
I do.
Actually, I don't know.
I do. I did. I will. You. One sec. Keep talking.
So, the other foreshadowing that I noticed was early in the movie, the kid and his brother are playing in the boat, and Brody's freaking out, and he's like, "Hey, get out of that boat," because he's all freaked out of the water because he's seen what the shark can do. And then I'm like, I wrote down in my notes, I was like, "It's only 3 feet of water. Just coax the shark into the 3 feet of water and stab him." And then later in the movie. Yeah, exactly. That is what you do.
He's reading that book, their book about shark attacks, and he's like, "Is it true that they attack
Martha's Vineyard? Where's Martha's Vineyard?"
Martha's Vineyard is in New York, isn't it?
So the fictional town takes place in Amity Island in New York, which is actually Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts.
Oh, Massachusetts. Yeah. So it's okay. Yeah.
But
so
it's in that area.
It's in that area. Boston is in Massachusetts. Maine's its own state.
That child was very cold.
But you could see an iceberg in the background. So I like that Brody is freaked out by any bit of water after that too. There's a moment where near the end where he's standing and the water's kind of rising on the boat, and he's standing in like 3 inches of water, and he goes, "Oh," and jumps up onto a ladder and climbs up top. I thought that was like, it's just these little things that keep you like engaged.
When they're cutting open the shark, the water is like pouring out, and I think he
backs up
back a bit, yeah.
But also that scene was well acted because like Richard Dreyfuss is putting in work to make us believe that it smells horrible.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, like the whole time, and that's good, like method. It's good method acting. Like Richard Dreyfuss was fucking the star of the show in this movie, and I forgot that he was even in it.
But he was definitely my favorite. He was a standout.
He was very handsome.
Like his delivery and like cadence in his voice.
Yeah, he played the perfect marine biologist.
Kind of attitude.
Yeah, he played the perfect marine biologist or whatever his title was.
He had He had a weirder title than that, but yeah.
Oh, one second.
I gotta get my book. It's called The Book of Dreyfuss. It has all of his movie roles in it.
Mr. Holland's Opus. What's this? Are you gonna put on a vest? Oh man.
It's not like a human eye. It's like a doll's eye. And then when it bites you, it rolls back.
No. One of my almost favorite, but maybe second favorite line is when they first catch the tiger shark, and they're like, "What is it?" It's like, "It's a tiger shark." And then some guy's like,
what?
"Oh, what?"
That guy, but then like that same guy has like a more manly voice, like a second later in the same scene, and he's like, "I don't care anything about it." But yeah, he was like, "Oh, what?" A weird 70s dandy.
Yeah, he is a dandy.
Tiger shark, that sounds fun.
Do you want to sit down? Why are you talking like that? Because I had a stroke.
Oh, there's Connor.
What up? What up, Connor? Welcome to the Talk About Jaws. We got our first ever host, co-host. I mean, yes, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I stumbled across this and they invited me in to talk about Jaws. Jaws Talk.
Jaws Talk! The podcast, of course, is called Hey, Did You See This One? It's important for branding. Yeah, so basically, I wrote down that this is all a recipe for disaster. Most of the things in this movie have that horror trope of nobody believes it, so naturally everybody's going to die. The final kill count, I believe, including Quint, was shark 4, humans 1. So at the end of the day...
The humans won.
The humans did win, but the humans 1 point is what I mean. So...
I understood what you meant.
Humans won. I was trying to keep a count because I thought there was going to be way more kills, and I imagine that the later Jaws movies play it up. There's probably...
Are there only 4?
Who was the third one? There was the girl, there was the kid, there was Quint. Who was
the guy in the boat?
The guy in the
Leg Man.
Right. But then there was also a guy under. Remember the sunken boat with the guy with the eyeball who was like.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's 5. Shark 5, humans 1. Also, how do they bring back Jaws later if he got clearly blown in 2?
It's a different Jaws.
Called sex, Jason. It's called sex.
Sharks fuck. Also, sharks, they don't fuck. They're like the only other animal other than humans that like date rape. They like knock out the female shark and then have sex with them when they're unconscious.
Oh, they don't just like swim like belly to belly?
No.
No, he knocks like caveman style.
Do they have the corkscrew penises?
Yeah. Or
I
like
think
a dolphin that has a weirdly human
if you try
dick.
to pull away.
You look at it, you're like, that dick looks like a human dick.
It's
just a dolphin's dick.
Comes down like this out of the bottom.
Anyway, so to answer your question, the shark had sex with another shark, and then it produced a baby shark. And that baby shark... Have you ever played the game Man-Eater?
I was going to bring that up at some point during this.
Song.
Okay. It's like that.
It's like the song Man-Eater by Hall & Oates.
Yeah.
No, I believe you also platinumed it, or whatever it's called at Xbox.
It's just, I got all the achievements. I don't get like a special achievement for getting all the achievements.
Well, on PlayStation.
Yeah, I know how PlayStation works.
At any rate,
I'm still rocking with the PS3.
Well, the good news is that PS4 will be on sale very soon.
It's true. You probably pick up a PS4 for like $200 now, even.
I checked. Walmart.
Oh, well, when you do finally buy one, you're going to have literally 500 games to play that are all of quality. And one of them you could get is Man-Eater.
PS5 play everything?
Yes.
Isn't it what's it called when you go back?
Backwards compatible? It's only backwards compatible to PS4.
What?
Yeah, they kind of duped us.
PS1s and 2s and 3s.
No. Yeah, we got duped.
Nobody cares about those. What are you going to play? Crash
what are you talking about? Nobody cares, man.
Well, they've already remastered that. Specifically, those games they have remastered and re-released.
Not Jackie Chan. Not fucking Desperate Guy. I'll pull him out right now.
Disgaea?
No, what? What'd you call it?
What game are you talking about?
I think we might be talking about the same thing. 1 second.
Oh no, he's gonna pull out Jaws the game.
There's an NES game.
Okay,
that's
first
Jaws.
up, we got Jackie Chan, Stuntmaster.
Well, nobody. Okay, nobody.
I don't think anyone ever heard that.
That's the one where the room.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Fucking GT Final Bout. That's fucking some original shit.
The's too many Dragon
Ultimate
Ball
22.
games.
Can't go wrong.
Literally pulled the second one.
You're revealing who you are as a person.
And then the one that I'm talking about, this one right here.
Oh no, that looks like a rip off of. That looks like a precursor to Devil May Cry. Is what that looks like.
No. It's almost a better. It's like Dragon Ball. because it does the kind of like rock paper scissors tactic of attacks. Like this attack beats this attack, but this attack beats this attack, but that attack beats this attack, and they do blasts and shit. It's like I'm geeking right now.
Oh, it's a fighting game.
I forgot for a while that PS1 games came in like jewel cases, like the fucking CD cases. I forgot that was a thing. You know, the case that could shatter if you dropped it from like 2 feet onto tile.
Oh man! And then they had the double cases for a while towards the end because it was like multiple discs for a game.
Two disc games. Yeah.
You couldn't find those. You couldn't find those after the game you broke the case. That's it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really like produce those.
Well, they're all on the internet now. We can just play them for pennies on the dollar.
It's true.
I was also trying to do your East Coast impression via text earlier, and I couldn't do it.
The R's?
The R. Like the, I just gotta park my car in the garage.
Gonna park my car, going down to the bar.
Going down to the bar, but there's no parking down by the bar for my car.
I'm gonna drive my car home from the bar and crash it into a star.
Yes.
Don't drink and drive, kids.
I can vouch for that.
I know it's your podcast, but I'm going to try and get you guys back on track here. The movie Jaws, the moment where they're all talking about their, scars, probably one of the best movie moments, period. Like I know many movies have done it before, and many movies have done it since, but that one is...
They bonded.
I think it has to do with the fact that, like, all three of them are such different people.
Yeah.
And the two people who seem the most different are probably have the most in common, and then the scars are what really kind of, like, prove that point, right?
Cooper and Quint
a good bonding moment.
Were at odds until they just sat down and had a drink and talked to each other. And I did write that down. That scene... you usually see those kinds of scenes in like war movies, like literally showing their war scars or their battle wounds. But it's so weird because, Cooper got them from being literally like a nerd, just fucking around in the water and fucking around, like basically being like a Steve Irwin. He said at one point, he's like, this is a manta ray, this is from a thresher shark.
Yeah.
And then Brody's like, how'd you get that? And he's like, oh, it's just like a tattoo remover. I don't want to talk about it. It's like,
don't worry about it.
What was it from? He's like, well, let me tell you a story.
Everybody sit down, another swig of my toilet vodka. When I was in the war, I got attacked by 100,000 sharks with 100,000 men on my side.
Oh man, is that guy from Family Guy based off Quint?
I think so, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy with 2 peg legs and 2 peg arms.
2 peg arms.
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now. Yo, this movie was supposed to come out for Christmas.
Really?
It was supposed to be a summer movie.
I wonder what the first summer blockbuster would have been if this hadn't come out. What are some other movies from 1975, the summer of 75? Was Friday the 13th 1975, or is that later?
I could go look.
I'm going to Google it. I just wanted to say, I have a theory about...
oh, no! It's falling apart.
I have a theory about that scene. When they start singing super loud, I think that's when Jaws is like, I was letting these guys just be. I wasn't fucking with them. But you woke me up. And now we're going to have some problems. Because that's when he starts bashing on the boat. He starts like smashing into the boat. And then I guess they sleep. And then the next day, that's when he shows himself for the first time, and they shoot that barrel into him, and then they have a tracker, which I thought was great. That tracker system set, like, sometimes movies have like a timer that is going to elapse, and then they have to do the thing. I forget what that's called. But this had a thing where, like, by the time he had 3, like, each barrel was added to him at a specific moment in their fight. And it kind of is the marker for the battle for me. And by the time he had 3 barrels into him, I was like, oh shit, this is turned up. And I looked at the time, and before the ship even starts to sink, the boat starts to sink, there's only like 12 minutes of the movie left. They jammed so much in that last 10 minutes. I couldn't believe it. And it doesn't do that bullshit where they get back to land and they see their family and blah, blah, blah. They kill the shark, they swim back to shore, and while they're swimming back to shore, the movie's done.
It threw me off, but I liked it. Oh, thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining, Steve. Thanks for joining.
That threw me off. He's like, Quint, and then it's over.
Yeah. And I knew Quint was going to die. I knew that. But I also kind of, because I've seen the ending of the movie. But,
what suit? What kind of dope-ass hoodie is that?
Madison made this.
Really?
Yeah, she made this. She made this. I have matching sweatpants as well. It's a crazy tie-dye.
Fucking tracksuit, fucking lounging comfortably.
She has a matching one. We have matching tracksuits. I'll send you a picture. She made them. I wanted them. She made them. It's fantastic.
I want someone to love.
Well, Jesus. Steve asked to come back in, but there he is.
Oh, hey, sorry. I got a phone call, and then when I answered it and then hung up, the sound was I couldn't hear you guys, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it back on. So I was like, I have to leave.
Did you try turning it off and on again?
That's what I did.
Literally, that's what he did.
Here we are. Sorry, I missed all that suit talk.
Apparently, Madison made some sweet ass for him and for her tracksuits, lounging, comfort, whatever they're called. Looks like space.
Yeah.
Looks like the universe.
It's a space suit. It's not a tracksuit, but like a sweatsuit with a zip up.
That's basically a tracksuit.
It. But it's thick. And she did a really good job with it. It doesn't look like it looks profesh.
You know what I was thinking about today? What about a shirt that has like not patches, almost like pockets, and you put ice packs in them so you stay cold.
I mean, that's a pretty good idea, actually. Don't steal that if you're watching this.
That's called a Kool-Aid suit.
It's called a Kool-Aid man. Oh, yeah. We were about to talk about movies from the summer of 75, but before we get to that, I did want to mention we only touched on that game for a bit, the shark game.
Man-Eater, yeah.
Man-Eater. And basically the premise of this game is you play as a shark, and you have to terrorize the countryside, essentially.
Yeah, you guys feeling cool in there?
Living in the fridge.
You're right next to an open can of cat food and being leaned against orange juice.
How much ketchup?
How much ketchup? I don't actually eat ketchup, so none. I got a lot of sriracha, though.
Okay, that'll do.
It's like ketchup, but it burns.
I think they took a lot of tropes from Man-Eater, from Jaws to Man-Eater, but the main guy that you're fighting against, the premise of the game is that it's taking place on like a reality show, one of those like nature reality shows where the person like goes out into the wilderness.
Weird they like made him almost seem like more of a gator fighter. Like he seemed like more of a gator man, but he's fighting sharks for some reason. I don't know.
None of the characters were really characters from Jaws, I thought.
The best character was the narrator.
Yeah.
Dr. Spachemin.
Yeah. And, Chris Parnell is the narrator for that game, so perfect.
What?
Oh, that's what you said? He burped and I didn't hear who you said.
I said Dr. Spachemin, and you said Chris Parnell. And yes, it is Chris Parnell, and he's very funny. Like it's all he does it very tongue-in-cheek, but he also like will say things that are actually educational at times. But then also there's a lot of sometimes will hibernate for 4 to 5 weeks before looking for its next prey.
And then he'll say some like non sequitur funny line. And there's a lot of like when you're underwater, you find those like special places that are like nods to other movies. And I think there's Jaws nods in that. So in the summer of 1975, if there was no Jaws, which one of these would be the first ever summer blockbuster? The Apple Dumpling Gang.
No. Oh, odd.
Walking Tall Part 2.
So
And
that's
then,
not
like,
the one with
Are
Dwayne
you
The Rock
telling me
Johnson
Walking
and,
Tall
No.
with fucking The
Sean-
Rock is not original?
No.
No, that was Walking Tall Part 1. It just came
Yeah.
out many years later.
Walking Tall is Robert Redford, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I don't
know. Was the original-
I didn't even know that it was a remake.
No, this is Part 2. This is Part 2. You didn't know it was a remake?
No.
Oh, man. Hey, did you
Why
see
would I
this
know
one?
that?
I don't know. I remember when
Is
it
there a
came out,
bad
everybody
guy in
was...
it who uses whips?
Probably.
Did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Cleopatra Jones and the Casino of Gold, which is almost definitely a blaxploitation movie.
Is that a Vegas thing?
Probably. Oh, it's definitely blaxploitation. It says blaxploitation right in it. Okay. Return to Macon County. Looks like a car hijinks. Cover Girl Models, which looks like it's an exploitation film, so it's definitely borderline pornography.
It's just porn, yeah.
Italian Zorro.
Oh.
You say Zorro?
Zorro,
Bravo, I like
but in parentheses, Italy. It's a spaghetti western based on the character. The Wilby Conspiracy. Oh, Mandingo, which also blaxploitation movie. There's a popular porn.
Something I know, or
I know. I'm trying.
Are
I've
these
heard of
movies
Mandingo.
released in North America?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in August 1975.
I watched
But
that for the first time the other day.
Oh, you guys should do that one on here.
That'd be good.
Fucking what's his face? What's the guy's name again? Fucking
Tim Curry?
Yes. What a guy.
He is the best. I do a very good Tim Curry laugh. I can't do a good Tim Curry impression, but I can do a good
But
laugh.
also, don't you need to be drunk and it needs to be 3 o'clock in the morning and we need to be playing Sea of Thieves?
Hold on, let me try it. Let me see if I can do it. All right? That's pretty okay.
Okay, so A Dog Day Afternoon it came on September. That's the only other one I recognize from this list. So, that being said, if there was no Jaws, there would be no first summer blockbuster until probably Star Wars.
Also, highest grossing movie at the box office until Star Wars.
Okay, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What?
we have about 5 minutes left here on the show. I'd like to thank Steve for coming by, but we're going to give our final thoughts. Our first special guest, Steve. I'd like to go to you. Give us your final thought. If you want to, I do a rating out of 5, as you know. If you want to give a rating, that's fantastic. If you want to just let us know what's going on
About Jaws?
about Jaws.
I think Jaws is an amazing movie that really showcases a lot of like what we would consider to be the best of Steven Spielberg's ability as a director now. We don't see it as much as we used to. His ability to showcase a family in maybe about 5 minutes and let you really fully understand that this family cares about each other with nothing more than just like a kid walking in the kitchen being like, "Mom, I'm bleeding," and then like them taking care of it. Like that kind of stuff really sort of solidifies a family unit and lets you understand that these people care about each other. And he does it in so many of his early movies, and he doesn't really do that kind of stuff as much anymore. But those are the kind of things that you love, paired with, you know, his ability to build tension in terms of his camera work, and then also, you know, utilize the beautiful work of John Williams. I don't know if we talked about the music.
We forgot to mention that John Williams scores it, and it's as good as any of his other movies.
It's one of his very earliest works, but I think it's one of the things that you can point anybody to and say, you know, if you watch this a couple times, you'll sort of understand the formula of Steven Spielberg's success as a director, and understand why he can continuously use that formula over and over again and hit home runs forever.
Literally for 40 years.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, as much as we'd like to see that again from him, he's kind of grown beyond it, but I would love to see him just kind of try it out again and go back to that sort of like simple storytelling where it's just like, this is a simple family and some sort of insane thing is happening to them. But yeah, it's a great movie. I watched it when I was really young and was too terrified to watch it again until I was a full-grown adult. And when I did have the ability to appreciate it without being terrified of salt water, I really enjoyed it. And thank you for inviting me in to do an impression of a Northern Ontario guy and keeping me around to the end.
No, you proved to be
happy to join you again in the future.
Fantastic special guest, Kaylin. How did you feel about Jaws?
How did I feel about Jaws? Well, let me tell you, Jason. No, it's definitely a classic. I'm jaded. Part of me is jaded by all of the, newer modern movies that we have and that sort of thing. But the fact, the age of this and the impact that it had and the impact that it still has watching it now, it's definitely a classic. It's everything. Steve, was it?
Yeah. Everything
you said and then some. This was essentially my first time watching it. I knew about it here and there, seen bits and pieces here and there, but this is my first time actually watching it. Definitely enjoyed it. It definitely has, and it's an older movie. You can tell it's an older movie feel to it, but it still holds up. It had me. There were a few moments where I had that jump or whatever, right? There's a few scenes oh shit, fuck, and it was, there was a beauty in its simplicity, I guess is the best way I could phrase it.
Yeah, that's excellently put. I mean, there's not much else to say that you guys didn't cover. The Steven Spielberg thing really hit home for me because, you see the kind of work that he's associated with now, and him just being sort of a assistant director kind of role on Ready Player One. You could tell the bits that he got in, but I'd like to see him actually direct Ready Player One. I'd like to see him actually direct a Marvel movie. I think that would be crazy. Because he could do something like what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he could take something like an IP and turn it into something completely new. And this Jaws, like Steve said, was just a novella, just a, he tied in the Amityville name, so it's technically canon to the Amityville horror.
Yeah.
And
it's like I said earlier. Oh, I know. I said it in text. They thought there was a murder, but it turned out it was a shark until years later when that man murdered his entire family in that horrible incident a few miles away.
Maybe it was the ghost of the shark.
Because of a host
into the house.
A host on an Indian burial ground, but also a shark burial. A shark indigenous people burial. Anyway.
Imagine the iconic image of the house with those two eyes, except it was just the mouth of shark.
It was just the triangle of the shark's head from the cover of the shark, the Jaws movie. So yeah, I give it a solid.
The cover of the book.
It is, from what I've seen. I give it a solid 4. A real solid hard 4. I'm unwavering on 4 too. Usually I come in here with a number in my head, and by the end of it I'm swayed to go higher or lower. But this time I think that they didn't know what they had on their hands. So if Steven Spielberg went into this movie knowing the impact it was going to have on film, I think he could have dialed up that first setup. But like Steve said, he wanted to tell the story about this family in that first half, and then he wanted to give everybody the battle with the shark in the second half.
I'm invested.
Which was very well done.
The thing you could say is that the shark blows up at the end, and then they just swim back to the beach, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the end now. It's just the end of the movie. And you kind of want to see him go back to his family and be like, it's okay now, we can go back in the water.
But at the same, if that did happen, you would complain. You would call it.
I would have.
If they.
I would have personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because every movie does that. Yeah. After the big thing at the end, after the big climax, they go back to like they're like, this is what regular life is like after we've dealt with this horrible thing that's happened to our family. I like it when movies like
now they would do that, and then he would be like looking out to the water, and it'd be like dun dun dun,
yeah,
dun, and it would like zoom out, and there would be like another fin in the water.
And and the shark would be a CG.
I like that.
The shark would be a CGI mess. Like in the practical effects, while they looked
chunks of the shark floating down, and there would be like a bunch of sharks eating it, and then there would be like one giant shark that would like CGI shark.
Yeah, the shark from fucking episode 1. Oh, he froze. Oh,
episode 1 of what? That's a good place to freeze on.
Star Wars.
Back.
Sorry, my phone is dying.
Tell us more.
You froze for a second.
Yeah, my phone is dying. I'm gonna plug it in.
That's actually the end of the show right there.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess if that's the end.
If you guys want to do an after show, sometimes we do an after show where we go live again and just talk about whatever. Do you want to hang out for a half hour? And are you down, Kalen?
I'm down to chit chat. Monday though, are we good for Monday?
We're good for Monday. On Monday, we're gonna do The Sandlot. You're killing me, Smalls.
I haven't seen that in a long time. Maybe would you guys? If I come down and
hell yes,
guest star again.
Hell yes. If you want to watch that for Monday, we'll.
Hey, did you see this one?
Oh, hey, you see this one?
That's one bad hat, Harry.
For Kalen, I'm Jason.
And for Jason, I'm Kellen.
And for Steve, I'm Jason.
And for both of us, that's Steve.
Oh, man.
Who I'm pointing at. I'll just point
We'll see you next time, folks. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful evening. Bye.
Enjoy your summer.